Now you can hear me. My goodness, let's restart that again. What is going on, fam? It's game like that, the loss on Sunday. It is what it is. We're back now. Let's go. Again, prayer circle for the Wi-Fi. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi doesn't cut out on us. Great start to the show, though, already. What I was saying, though, was back to the game, of course. We're going to be talking about the Sunday Night Football game against the Packers. It was fantastic being back at Levi Stadium. It was really, really awesome to be back amongst the crowd, around the energy, the team. I mean, the energy in Levi Stadium was top notch. And that's actually kind of where I want to start. I actually kind of want to start right there in regards energy, game flow, and see where that leads us. Because I know a lot of people, at least on the timeline today, there's a lot of focus about that last 37 seconds. Um, Unfortunately, that last 37 seconds is what happens when you give a Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers enough opportunity and time to come back and play his brand of football. That Aaron Rodgers does. So I'm honestly, I'm less concerned, um, at least about the offense in that sense, because the team was able to come down. They were able to score. There was a lot of conversation about how, um, the Wi-Fi's back out. Um, there's a lot of conversation about, should Juice have went down? Should they have done a better job managing the clock there at the end, giving Aaron Rodgers time to come back and win? And honestly, this is how I look at it. Based on the performance of the Friday, go back to the game before, the offense is not in rhythm right now. They are not firing on all cylinders. It is very choppy. It's very like they're scrapping as a unit. They are scrapping as a unit to get it done. And fortunately, they were able to again erase a 17-0 deficit by being able to score before halftime, be able to get some points and make some plays in the second half to be able to then actually go up. But here's the thing, I'm not putting any blame or focus on how they managed that scoring drive, just because I don't feel like it was a guarantee that they were going to score. So at that point, when you're trying to go up a touchdown and the way the offense was playing up until that point throughout the entire game, I just felt like they had to score. They just had to score. And obviously, you want to minimize the clock and you want to bring it down and not give um, Aaron Rodgers a ton of time to be able to come back and do exactly what he did. The only thing that I would maybe critique on that last play is on the play that they scored, and shout out Rich Madrid on Twitter for pointing it out and see it when I was sitting in the stands. But they hiked the ball with 12 seconds left on the play clock. I think that would have been a perfect opportunity for Jimmy to bring it down, maybe at least to 7 to 5 seconds on the play clock. Um, Again, knowing where they were at, knowing they had three timeouts and that situation. So that would be the only clock management issue, or maybe something you could look back and say they could have done a little bit differently. But other than that, at that point in the game, I just think you had to score. And that's what they did. Um, Unfortunately, what had happened, again, as we all know, is that the defense now becomes a big point of emphasis, right? I see it right here. Harold says, "What about the DBs? Is this a concern?" Absolutely, it's a concern. Absolutely, it's a concern. If you have been following this channel, if you have been following me on any one of the platforms that I'm on, and you can go back to training camp. You can go back to training camp. Um, I talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again. When I went on 95.7 The Game during training camp to talk about the coverage that I was going through, one of the concerns that they had asked me straight up, like, "What concern do you have about this team?" And my answer was secondary depth, and that was in August. I had secondary depth concerns in August, And here we are. We've had guys in and out of the lineup. We know Jason Barrett is not returning anytime soon. Um, we know guys like Diamador Lenore, he's shown a ton of promise, but he's still a rookie, and we still have to understand that. On top of that, we have guys like Dante Johnson coming in, Josh Norman in and out of the lineup. He is actually was in the hospital earlier today, uh, dealing with some issues with breathing in his lungs, potential internal bleeding. Um, the news that have came out of that is that Josh Norman still does plan and wants to play um, this situation. But yeah, I think defensive depth is defensive back depth will continue to be an issue. We saw a cornerback moved today, former first round pick, CJ Henderson. He was traded to the Panthers today in wake of JC Horn going down. So the Panthers are doing what they can to get some talent in return. So they get CJ Henderson. At this point, I wouldn't be shocked to see the 49ers do some of the same, because right now it's been a revolving door at the cornerback position. It's really hard to really get into a rhythm at that standpoint. Um, but again, I think a lot of the main focus that has come from that game is a lot of the mistakes that were made, right? Obviously, in a loss, you tend to focus on the mistakes. In a win, you tend to focus on the positives. So, of course, today, the narrative, a lot of things that we want to talk about is we want to talk about the why, how did we lose that game? Why did we lose the game? And kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, I really do think it comes down to game flow. I know there's a ton of focus on that last 37 seconds. Um, but if you manage the game the way that it should have been managed, or at least as I envisioned it to be managed in the first and second quarter, the Aaron Rodgers isn't having an opportunity to come back 37 seconds. That's the so the whole order of operations, I really think of going to the all right. I think I'm back. Prayers up for the Wi-Fi. Need all the good vibes I can get for the Wi-Fi. Um, but essentially, what I was talking about is I know we want to focus a lot on that last 37 seconds, but I really think the focus needs to come back to how we started the game in regards to the offense. Um, One of the biggest things that I think is an underrated component of playing football is momentum, rhythm. Those things as well as the defense too. But the offense really needs to get this rhythm and a sense of just moving forward. I feel like the 49ers offense kind of like start stop, kind of rigid, like it felt like there were plays that were made yesterday on offense, but it felt like a lot of the plays were desperation, or some were desperation. It just felt like there isn't a comfort point. And I think that is honestly really the biggest concern that I am taking away. I know a lot of people are focusing on the defense. For me, one of the biggest concerns that I have is just the offense not flowing and working together. Again, take a step back. This is a veteran offensive line unit. It's a veteran offensive line. You get the best left tackle in the NFL. Lincoln Thomas has been absolutely fantastic this year. I know Alex Mack had an up and down game. Brunskill had a bit of an up and down game, and McGlinchey did pretty well for the most part. But you still have veterans up front on that offensive line. You have a fourth-year quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, we understand what's going on at the running back position. There's nothing we can do about that. But the biggest thing with this offense is they predicate everything off the run. And what we're kind of watching right now is we're watching this team try to get the run going, but not typically how they would normally do it. Typically, we would see your standards kind of outside zones, just to get the defense flowing from one side to the other. They didn't do that to yesterday. They started their first four runs. I would say there's only one run that would be like a typical run, which was a pitch to Sermon. One of the first runs was juice up the middle. Then you had Debo coming on an end around, and then you had a Kittle handoff. So like that's part of what I'm saying. I feel like that they were trying to do something different, but it wasn't necessarily working for them. And as a result of it not working, I feel like it puts you out of rhythm. So I would have loved to see the 49ers kind of try to use Trey Sermon a little bit more traditionally, like they have in the past, in regards to how they've used Raheem Mostert. Hell, if you go back to how they used Tevin Coleman, like just like let's run the football. Let's allow our offensive line to get in rhythm. Let's let our running back to get settled. Again, I know it's his first start in the NFL, but you traded up into the third round to select Trey Sermon. Let's get him acclimated. Let's get him going. Again, going back to the first two quarters for the 49ers, it just was not pretty offensively. And the defense gave up 17 points, but all things considered, I really don't feel like that is that terrible, considering the offense really couldn't do anything. Um, it's just really, really tough. I think, of course, as you transitioned into the second half, the offense started to settle down a bit, and we started to see the ball get moved. We saw the points getting scored. We saw the touchdown to Ayuk. We saw the Juice touchdown, of course, the Trey Lance run right before halftime. Um, but again, that first half, from the offensive standpoint, it just did not, it wasn't working. And that's why the 49ers fell behind 17-0. Um, it's the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they're next level. Um, I would have loved to see the defense key on them a little bit harder. Maybe even throw a double at Devontae every once in a while. I would have loved to see that. But at the end of the day, your offense has to keep. Offense didn't do that in the first half. The offense was not sustaining drives. And if they were trying to put together a drive, again, like I said, it was real choppy, to the point where the entire stadium, like the energy was so crazy at the beginning. And then you had the Lazard touch, that Lazard deep pass on that like 3rd and 6, I think, to K'Wan Williams, and then they go down and score. But the stadium, just like the whole momentum switched, man. The whole momentum switched. Just really feel like if the 49ers want to play, this is what we talked about against Philly, playing 60 minutes of football, play a full game of football, and I think the outcome becomes much different. And we're not focused on the last 37 seconds. Like I said, I don't think the 37 seconds is really a true indication of why they lost. I think when you give future Hall of Famers in Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers an opportunity, again, this league's about opportunity. So you give them an opportunity to come back and win. Can you really blame them for doing it? Like, these are two of some of the best football players to ever play. And they have one of the best connections out of any quarterback wide receiver duo that is in existence. So I'm less concerned about the last 37 seconds. Again, if you even go back to that 37 seconds, I think the first play, Samson Ebukam was held. I want to see the all 22 angle to be able to definitively say that. but I'm pretty damn positive that Samson Ebukam got held and fell to the ground as a result. And you look at the ref and he's staring right at it. So again, you can't change that kind of stuff. The refs I'm not going to get into the refs, but since I mentioned it, the refs were terrible on both sides. I think they were terrible on both sides. They were good and bad for the 49ers and good and bad for the Green Bay Packers. I thought they were terrible on both sides. I thought the refs just did a really poor job on a lot of different situations. But like for the example, the one where Aaron Rodgers threads it right over Fred, like, I mean, that was just a good throw. This is a good throw and catch. Really good. Fred was in position, just outside the stretched fingertips of Fred, was able to get it in. The second one is one I had a problem with because no one was on Davante Adams. Like, no one was on Adams, man. Like, so that's got to be something that, of course, they're going to go back. They're going to look at and be like, how did this happen? Why aren't we keying on Davante Adams? Like, what's going on here? Like, why are we letting Davante Adams beat us on a zone beater and just sit down in a soft spot? And that was the game. And so, of course, that's going to be a point of emphasis. But I don't think that's why they lost the game. They lost the game going back to the first half. You lose that game because you can't get your offense in rhythm. The defense, again, they were a little bit more than they were bending. But again, what is the key factor of rhythm? I think a lot of it has to come down to the quarterback position. I'm not really surprised by like what we're looking at. You saw this in training camp, and you see it's a tale of two Jimmies. It's the tale of two Jimmies. Jimmy's biggest issue, in my opinion, is being consistent. Like just being consistent, play in, play out, being consistent, looking at it the same way, reading it the same way, executing it the same way. I think he just has a really hard time being consistent. And as a result, game flow suffers. And it's just also, too, on top of that, I think what we're seeing is defenses are really, truly understanding who Jimmy Garoppolo is. They understand that Jimmy Garoppolo is rarely going to throw outside the numbers past 10 to 15 yards. They know that Jimmy Garoppolo is rarely going to take a shot downfield. So they're playing it that way. Seeing a situation occur where I know you guys noticed this. I call them suicide slants. It's essentially where your wide receivers are running slants over the middle, but they have a guy, either a safety or linebacker, just waiting in the middle because they know the ball's coming to the middle. And as a result, Jimmy's fitting it in there with accuracy. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is that the wide receivers, tight ends, fullbacks are getting clobbered when they get their hands on the ball. That is, I don't think, the best way to attack a defense, especially when they're daring you to throw it where they know you're going to throw it. That's part of my biggest issues with this is like Jimmy can throw the ball accurately. He can throw it on time. He could throw with anticipation. Jimmy could be a very good quarterback, but it's the inconsistencies that make it really hard, I think, at this level. Because I think we all look at this situation as Jimmy Garoppolo is in his fourth year in this offense. He's almost 30 years old. He's been around. You know what I mean? Like, I think at this point we would expect to see more consistency out of a quarterback of his caliber, again, who is capable. He's capable. It's not that he's not capable. It's just there's such this inconsistency revolving his play, and I think it is really affecting the offense. I really think it's affecting the way Kyle Shanahan calls games. I think it's really impactful to how defenses play the 49ers right now. And I think we're seeing that it's like Dr. whatever, like Two-Face, from Batman. Like, you got the one guy on one hand who's like put together, like looks like a legitimate NFL quarterback. And then on the other hand, you see these throws and these reads where you're just like scratching your head a little bit. And you start to think like, I wonder how his wide receivers feel. Because again, this if I talked about if you followed us during the offseason and that's that situation, this was occurring in training camp. Um 49ers wide receivers were getting demolished based on where throws were being placed, whether being underthrown, overthrown, thrown into coverage. This was constant. So I'm not seeing an improvement, and I think that's the biggest concern, is that we're not seeing him take those steps forward. We're not seeing like it just feels like they don't know what they are as an offense. I think with Raheem Mostert going down, Jeff Wilson going down, um, Elijah Mitchell going down, they just don't know what they are as an offense. I don't feel like they have that identity. And so again, we talked about this, right? The big emphasis on the defense, right? Right? That's the defense. It's the defense. In my opinion, in Kyle Shanahan's fourth year, or no, this is year 5, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. No, year 4. In his fourth year, Kyle Shanahan's fourth year, again, veteran offensive line. We have talented wide receivers and tight ends. We can't get into a rhythm, and that is extremely concerning to me. When you look at the opposite side, you see Green Bay running out third string tackles. They have keys. Like, that is a disadvantage. That is a disadvantage, yet they felt like the Green Bay Packers had more rhythm on offense than the 49ers. And those are the things where I get concerned. Again, going back to the way they were trying to run the ball, just doesn't feel like they're themselves or what they even want to do. And again, I think it ultimately comes back to, unfortunately, Jimmy Garoppolo and how Kyle has to call games for Jimmy. I think we're just seeing defenses daring Jimmy to do certain things. But of course, on the other hand, you have 49ers wide receivers not making plays. Brandon Ayuk dropped that touchdown pass in the end zone before half. Hit him right in the hands. It was actually a really good pass. On the other one, you had, I think they were back-to-back plays. You had Jimmy escape out the pocket. He threw on the move. It wasn't a very accurate pass, but Deebo Samuel still got his hands on it. I would expect Deebo to catch that, especially when it was so wide open. And I think, again, that's what we get back to. Again, it was back-to-back plays. Back-to-back plays. I think it's a microcosm of kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, you have Ayuk over the middle. He puts the ball in a perfect location. Ayuk goes up, tries to get it, bounces off Ayuk's hands. Second play, he's rolling out. He's open in the flat. He doesn't really have anyone bearing down on him. He has a wide open Deebo Samuel in the back of the end zone, and he misses him. It was a combination. Like, Deebo dropped it, right? It hit him in the hands, but Deebo had to lay out. He had to lay out for the ball. And I think that's just, it's tough. Again, I don't want this to be like a Jimmy episode or anything like that, because I still think Jimmy played well. He answered in the second half. He's drove the team down for multiple hours, threw the touchdown pass to Brandon Ayuk. So he has his moments, right? He has his moments. Consistencies for me. It's the inconsistencies for me. If I was a coach, it would drive me insane. Like, it would drive me insane not knowing if we're going to get an accurate pass or a not accurate pass. If my wide receivers keep getting thrown into coverage, they keep getting thrown into defensive backs and linebackers. It's just tough, man. It's just tough. I mean, I think even like the Sanu one that was it's my Wi-Fi out of control. Even like The Sanu catch that went into, like, he was wide open. It shouldn't have been a review. That catch shouldn't have been reviewed. Even though it stood, it was just a situation again where it's like, man, we got to hit those passes. We got to hit those passes. So I, again, a lot of focus, right, is on the defense today. I got to see that offense work, man. I got to see that offense work. I'm an offensive guy, so I'm going to be a little bit more critical of the offense. And that's just kind of how I've always rolled. Like, I feel a lot more confident about speaking to the hows and whys. Niners offense. And that's just one of the things. It's like, it just feels like we're in a situation where we're kind of stuck. It kind of feels like Jimmy's not where Kyle wants him to be, and Trey's not where Kyle wants him to be. So we're kind of stuck in this like quarterback limbo. It feels, and then again, not having Raheem Mostert, not having Jeff Wilson, not having Elijah Mitchell. I don't know what's going on like with Trey Sermon necessarily. There's not a rhythm to this offense. There hasn't been a rhythm. I mean, you've seen moments, right? We've seen halves. We haven't seen 60 minutes. But this is my biggest problem. This is my biggest concern is that go back to training camp. You don't see good Jimmy for an entire practice. Like, you literally see it's a tale of two Jimmys. And that is just my biggest concern. And I don't know if that is holding this team back and from being what they need to be. I don't know, man. Like, again, I'm really I even trying to come on here and do this whole big thing on Jimmy. Because like I said, he does play well in spots. But I think we are at a point, again, 4 years in. This is his technically third year. I'm not going to count the first year. Technically his third full year. It just feels like it's not working. I saw a question. Luke says, Brad, what do you expect? Look at the running back room. You think our offense is going to run smoothly? Well, I agree. They're not running their offense. They're not running their run game. That's kind of what I was talking about at the beginning. They're just not running their run game. It's weird, and they're not trying to They didn't try to establish it with Trey, which I thought was odd. I thought it was odd. I thought it was odd that they weren't trying to work Trey in and get Trey Sermon into a total rhythm. They're trying to be a little gadgety again. They had their first 4 runs that they had to start the game went to 4 different ball carriers. It was Juice, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Trey Sermon. 4 rushes. I don't look at that and be like, let's get into a rhythm that way. Like, I want to see back to a bit of the traditional offense. Try it. Like, let's try Trey Sermon on the outside zone. Let's try Trey Sermon on the inside zone. Let's get the offense in line. Let's get them in sync. Let's get them going. We're moving on all cylinders. So it is what it is. Let's focus on some of the positives. Ayuk. It was really great to see Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk getting some opportunity, ability to run, and getting targets. That was fun. Obviously, that should have been occurring week 1 since week 1. But you can. I don't care what narrative you want to subscribe to. But they weren't using Brandon Ayuk when they should have. Brandon should have been more of an impact player both weeks. Um, and so it was really great to see Brandon Ayuk come out and have a really positive impact, and to the point where, hell, could have got him the ball more. Um, so Brandon Ayuk did really well. Debo had a couple drops. Sanu had a decent game. Uh, for the most part, let's see here. Um, but and I know, right? Trent Williams is balling. Trent Williams has been balling. I thought it was weird how Trent Sherfield didn't really get any run. Again, if Trent Sherfield was playing so much better than Brandon Ayuk, why didn't Trent Sherfield? I think he got like, I don't know how many snaps he had. I don't want to misspeak off the top of my head. I just know his snap share went way down. We saw a ton of Debo Samuel, ton of Brandon Ayuk, and a ton of Mohamed Sanu. Where'd Trent Sherfield go? Um, so again, rushing yards. Trey Sermon had 10 carries for 31 yards. One run, great blocking up front. Got more run. 5 carries, 14 yards at 2.8 a clip. You got Kittle, 1 carry from Brandon Ayuk, 1 carry from Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think was that poor snap. Man, I can't catch a break. Um, and Trey Lance, 1 rushing. Debo Samuel had 2 carries for 0 yards. Um, oh, Big Heck says Brad's wide. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. The Wi-Fi is really, really um Long Joshua said, Brad, what's the oh god. Absolutely more pressure. Hopefully a lot more um assignment sound football and things of that nature. But yeah, it's going to be really hard because stupid Wi-Fi, man. Read or Wi-Fi, as you can see, it just makes everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you for letting me know that my Wi-Fi is broken. This has been a ordeal for quite some time. We have so we'll see. The Wi-Fi is taking down everyone else. Yep. That we got that Metro PCS Wi-Fi. It's real. It's a real struggle. Um, help us get us back on. Sean says, where do you think our biggest areas of need is? Quarterback, DBs, or running backs? um, I really think that quarterback and running back are a big concern right now. Again, you have to play complementary football. Like offense and defense have to complement each other. Defense does good, gets the opposing offense off the field, gets your offense on the field to allow these guys to wasn't doing that in the first half. Again, complementary football. Um, the 49ers weren't able to sustain drives in the first half. That puts your defense at a disadvantage. It puts your defense behind the eight ball, gives a lot of momentum to the other side. So I really think it's the quarterback has to get his stuff figured out. And I think the 49ers really need to find a mirror and say, how I don't think they're running it effectively right now. I don't think they're running it like they want to. Um, I feel like reason why I talked about the first four rushes were to four different ball carriers, and only one of them to do all these different kinds of things. They're trying to do all these different kinds of things, and it's just not working. They can't get. They're not. It's almost like an admission that their normal zone run game isn't working. And so they're trying to do all these different kinds of things, and I don't think that's working either. Um, So I think it really comes down to the offense. I really think it does. Again, a huge point of emphasis today is going to be on the defense. It's going to be on broken coverages. It's going to be on guys playing out of position. It's going to be about the 49ers defensive line not creating pressure on Rodgers against back line. Um, yeah, I agree. That needs to account, especially against a team like Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. They are going to score him. Um, and the 49ers have just had a really last couple of weeks, at least standpoint. Jimmy Garoppolo was able to complete 25 passes out of 40 attempts for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I actually thought that the interception um, that Jimmy Garoppolo threw was just it was a fire play by Jair Alexander. I understand what Jimmy was doing. I understand the concept. It was actually a good throw. It was actually a good throw. I went back and watched. Um, it was actually a pretty good throw. If Jair wasn't Jair and was able to make that insane play, and maybe if the ball didn't hang up as much, um, Jimmy's able to get it in there. Um, but you also have to tip your hat to the cornerback to be able to be on the like essentially like the bottom third of the field and be able to cross all the way back to track that thing down. I thought it was a really good play by the DB. You look at the pass, it was on point, it was right there. Um, it is what it is. Um, Luke Luna says you have to wonder what kind of influence Kyle has over how Jimmy plays. No, we Kyle scheming, absolute steep. Well, for example, and this came right to my head when you said this, Luke. Um, go back to the Eagles game. Go back to the Eagles game. You had a dedicated deep route called for Brandon Ayuk. It was probably about 20 to 25 yards down the field. Um, it was Brandon Ayuk. He was the only one that was released on the route. You had Debo fall into the flat. I think you had someone on the other side run a little button. It was really dedicated. Primary was Brandon Ayuk, and they wanted to get the ball to Ayuk. But this is where like we see this like the inconsistency is Brandon Ayuk ran a fantastic route. He beat his guy. And if a quarterback, I feel like, trusted his arm, trusted his accuracy at that depth outside the numbers, again, where he doesn't really he doesn't throw a lot. He would have been able to just deliver a beautiful ball to Brandon Ayuk on a deep, basically outbreaking route towards the sideline. That would have been a great throw. Would have been a great timing route. It would have been beautiful. But he didn't. He just decided to throw it to the flat to Deebo Samuel for like 2 yards. So I would have to imagine that's a bit frustrating for a coach, because when he does dial it up, Jimmy's not throwing it. So it's like it's a dual-edged sword, because again, Jimmy has a sweet spot. And when I'm seeing Kyle kind of dial it up, essentially to push the ball downfield, I'm not necessarily seeing Jimmy take those shots. So it's hard, man. I think they're both affecting each other. I think it's a like, again, this whole like dual quarterback system, the whole in and out, like splitting the locker room, there's a lot of impact here at play. There's a lot of things being influenced, like you said, Luke. And going back to your question, saying, wonder what kind of influence Kyle has over Jimmy's play. I know we put it on all Jimmy, but I don't see Kyle scheming the deep routes. That the point is I don't think Jimmy throws the deep routes if he schemes it up. Like we saw the only deep throws of the year last night. Unfortunately, like I said, I thought it was a good throw. It's just a better play by the defender. But I think these two, Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo, like, I don't know how it can work. I think Kyle believes that there are deficiencies in Jimmy's game. I think Jimmy is constantly looking over his shoulder. I mean, it's just a weird situation. And again, I talk about the rhythm and the flow. I don't know how this offense gets into a flow based on the way Jimmy's playing, the way Kyle wants to call it. I don't know. Because again, it feels like Jimmy is just wanting to go over the middle time in and time again. And I think that can be very, very difficult, especially take that away. And he still goes there. So it's an interesting situation. It's an interesting situation. I think there's some trickle down from the whole situation, all off season. It's gonna be an interesting. I think one of the crazier things too was that when Jimmy was down there at the red zone before halftime trying to get team to score, and they brought in Trey to run the play and score the touchdown. But when they made the switch, the stadium erupted. The stadium erupted. Like, they were very happy. And that is that Trey Lance came into the game. That has to have an impact on a football player. That has to have an impact on your mental. It has to have it. We're all human. At the end of the day, we're all freaking human. And when you come trotting off the field in a gotta have it moment in a primetime game on Sunday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and they trot you off the field for the backup, and the entire stadium goes, Trey, and then they score with Trey. That to me is the microcosm of why this team can't get it going. They just can't get it going. And I don't think they ever will until they just decide on the damn quarterback. I really think that's it. I saw it all training camp. We're seeing it this season, and I think we're going to see just this kind of back and forth in regards to inconsistencies with Jimmy Garoppolo. And Big Des says Jimmy is decent but limited. Jimmy is just a bad fit right now. I think you're right. I just don't think they're meshing well. Shanahan loves chunk plays as well. Jimmy can't push the ball. Safeties play 15 yards from the line of scrimmage. Exactly, man. They're baiting you. We dare you to throw it deep on us, or we dare you to try and attack us this way. But just doesn't work out. It's just not working out. Um, Gammon Brown says, "Here's a donation for you to use. You can renew your Norton subscription. The Trojan viruses on your computer are harmful to your Wi-Fi." Shout out. Right. I'm gonna go head out to Xfinity after this um, to probably buy an extender for the Wi-Fi. I got to try something, man. I got to try to get this stream right for you guys. I will use your donation exactly towards that. Thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate you trying to get the stream right. I really, really do. Um, so let's see. What were we talking about? Um, Again, this is turning into a Jimmy. I didn't mean for this at all to just be like a Jimmy conversation, but in my gut, that's honestly what I keep coming back to. It's what I keep coming back to, um, because I think based on the situation, I don't think it's meshing. You need out of all, again, I'm biased towards the offense. I played the offense. I feel like you got to mesh extremely well on that side of the football. You can't just plug guys in. Like a defensive line, you just rotate guys. You can literally have a new defensive line every play. You cannot have a new offensive line every play. It does not work that way. You have to have these guys working together continuously, play in, play out, getting used to everything, working together, doing all these things. And it's not like the defense. And I'm just not seeing that mesh occur with the offense at this point. Again, it's still early. Talked about it before. I like to look at the first 4 weeks of the preseason or as the season, as the real preseason for the starters, just getting settled in, getting used to who's available, who's not, those different kinds of things, um, all that kind of stuff. So, again, I don't know if we're ever going to see this 49ers offense get into that 60-minute rhythm. I don't know. Because again, like what we keep pinpointing again over and over again is there's seemingly this kind of box put around Jimmy Garoppolo around what throws he'll attempt and what he'll do. We'll see him take a shot here or there. They're not respecting him, meaning the defense is not respecting his ability to throw it deep or throw it to the number outside the numbers. They're just sitting in the middle, just waiting for it. Just waiting for it. And again, this is why I also too hold a bit of more of the emphasis on the 49ers offense and less the defense. Because dang it. I know a lot of people want to come down DeMeco Ryan's road. They want to come down the defensive backs road. Like that unit is at a disadvantage, just like the offense is at a disadvantage with the running back situation. But DeMeco Ryans is a rookie defensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan is, again, like Kendall Wiggins says, for an offensive genius, how do you constantly blow the last 2 minutes or less of the games? And why not double Adams when you can cover? To me, that game was first half. Again, I know the focus comes down to the last 2 minutes. They went down and drove and scored. So they got the game and they put the team up on that last drive. That's all I can ask for out of that offense. So I'm not concerned about how they manage that game down the end. I get it. You don't want to give 37 seconds to Aaron Rodgers. I totally get it. I totally understand. But at the end of the day, if you run your offense properly and you execute properly in the first half, we're not in this position to begin with. The whole point. We have to follow the proper order of operation. Football had 12 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdowns after getting rocked. Um, Devontae Adams built different, man. Devontae Adams built different. I agree. I don't like the way the last. I felt like the play where again he dumped it over Fred. I felt like it's just that was just a close one. It was just a better play, better throw by Aaron Rodgers. But it was the second one that they spiked that led to the game-winning field goal. I didn't like that cover. Understand the coverage. I need to get the all 22 to try to key on what they were trying to accomplish. They left a huge soft spot in the middle of the field, basically right over Devontae Adams. I don't understand it. For a guy who just went off for 12, 132 and 1, double team him. Make them beat you with MVS. Make them beat you with Allen Lazard. Make them beat you with a Randall Cobb. Don't let him go to his number one option. It's just tough. It's just tough. Like I just so again, there are definite concerns about some of the play calling on defense. While we're on it, I'll talk about another one that I posted to Twitter. Again, I'm not a fan of dropping 1-tech, 3-tech defensive tackles into coverage. I'm just not. And one of the examples that I had posted on Twitter is when they were driving at the beginning of the game. I think it was the first drive. There's a 3rd and 6. So they call essentially, I think it was like a zone coverage. It felt like a man shell, but they only brought 3 rushers. And they had Kentavious Street over the left guard, but they dropped Kentavious Street into coverage to basically defend the slant. If you're a good quarterback or a receiver, you could work around Kentavious Street, in my opinion. I just don't like that. And because as a result, you actually got pressure from Nick Bosa off the edge. You get pressure from Nick Bosa off the edge, but the problem is you didn't have anyone in front of Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers steps up into the hole. It allows Devontae Adams to break free, and then he hits Devontae Adams for a first down right in front of our goal line. Again, I'm like, man, if you rush 4 and you kind of keep Aaron Rodgers in the pocket in that situation, that's a sack. He's getting sacked. Like that would have been a sack. But because you drop your interior defensive tackle into coverage, it allows him to step up into the pocket. And again, it's Aaron Rodgers. This dude is like the freestyle king. So it was just a situation where I was like, man, what are we doing here? Again, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a defensive guru or genius or anything like that. It was just like one of those weird things. It was like, I wouldn't play it that way. But I'm also not in the NFL calling defenses either. So it was a weird situation, man. It was weird. It just felt like a weird game from a play calling standpoint on both sides of the football. But again, that's what I keep saying is DeMeco Ryans is a rookie. This is his 3rd game calling plays and doing all that with a completely hamstrung secondary going up against the arguably best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL the last decade, maybe ever. They could be in that conversation. So I'm over DeMeco Ryans. I like to put the emphasis on the head coach. I like to put the emphasis on Kyle Shanahan. I love Kyle Shanahan. I big believer in what he's able to do, what he's able to scheme, do all that kind of stuff. But when it's not perfect, when we don't have the running backs and we don't have, I guess, the blocking that he wants up front, Like, how are we need to respond better as an offensive play caller. Um, and if that's genuinely comes back down to the quarterback, we got to figure that. So I think our offense is right. And I think that is the biggest effect on this team as a whole. It's affecting the defense. Again, we know the bad play from Jimmy where it looked like he was trying to get rid of the ball. Um, Turned around when he had a defender in his face, and then he ended up throwing the ball backwards, turned into a fumble again after a huge stop by the defense. Huge stop by the defense, took the momentum back, and then we just gave it right back. Like, just, oh, here you go. That's complimentary football. So I don't think the offense is playing very complimentary to the defense. I feel like the first 2 weeks of the year, the defense has done a really solid job of bending and not breaking, allowing the offense time to kind of get up to speed. Of course, we saw week 1 against Detroit, it was the opposite. The offense came out firing, offense came out on point, and then they sputtered. And since then, it's been a struggle to get started. So again, you got a veteran quarterback, you got a veteran play caller, and Kyle Shanahan. You got a veteran offensive line. You got weapons at wide receiver and tight end. That offense, I need to see that offense perform better than what they're doing, in my opinion. To me, that is the main reason why that the 49ers lost. Even though, again, we're going to look at this thing and we're going to be like, oh, well, the defense gave it up at the end, 37 seconds, let them drive down. If the offense plays their brand of football in the first half, it's not, the game flow is completely different. The game flow is completely different. The 49ers would have a better opportunity out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, keeping the defense off the field. It was opposite. It was reversed. It was the defense on the field all the time, and the offense trying to stay on the field, and it wasn't working. So I don't know, man. It wasn't the best game all the way around. We're focusing on a lot of the hows and the whys, which don't necessarily translate into the things that were good. But let's try to focus a little bit on some of the good stuff before we get out of here. I thought Aziz Al Shair again was all over the place. I thought Aziz had a really good game for the most part. Thought he was pretty decent. I think which other ones? Of course, Brandon Ayuk showed up. I still think Brandon Ayuk could have played better and done a little bit better, considering he had a drop or two. It was really good to see Trey Lance come in and run and be able to score. Again, when the offense, and this is the difference, and it's really why I find myself keep coming back to the offense. When they put Trey Lance out there, the defense completely changed. The defense completely changed how they were defending that situation. They completely switched up. Whereas, again, when it's Jimmy, defenses are daring where he wants to throw it. And he's still doing it. So that's part of, again, somehow I came back to that. Need to get away from that. Yes. Great. If it wasn't for Trenton Cannon, and that run right before halftime, looked a whole lot different. Imagine going into halftime 17-0. That would have not have been a good situation. So you have to give credit to Trenton Cannon for really setting up that scoring drive on heading into halftime. He looks really like fast, really solid, all that good stuff. So yeah, good point, Sean. He definitely was someone that sparked sure. Let's see, what other stuff did we get? I thought Kyle Juszczyk had an amazing game. I thought Kyle Juszczyk, I love to see his usage go up. I would love to see Kyle Juszczyk use like that game in and game out, to be perfectly honest. I thought Kyle Juszczyk was one of the better players and player in regards to running the football, running routes, catching the football, all that. Yeah, Keith Carter, I love that play. Where you get Trey in, right? So everyone's focused on what's Trey gonna do with the football. And then here comes Juice under center. They did this last year as well. Juice comes in under center, basically does a quarterback sneak. Great stuff. Again, you got to take this is the scheming that Kyle does, right? Taking advantage of the defense and what they're keying on and what they're seeing, and that's what he did. They're keying on Trey running. Okay, great. Key on Trey running. We're going to run Juice right up the middle. Those are the kinds of give and takes that you get from having Trey Lance. And the unfortunate thing that we're not seeing with Jimmy is they're just daring us. They're daring us at this point to play them a certain way, and we're just not having the best time. Ryan McDonald says, bold take, Cannon will start over Sermon maybe next week. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Juice get more run just at running back. I mean, if you really think about it, him and Trey Sermon are actually kind of comparable from a running style standpoint. And I would say that right now, Juszczyk is the veteran. This dude's been around. I wouldn't mind seeing Juice lining up there as RB1 a little bit and just seeing what happens. Like, I wouldn't, again, they used him on the majority of the rushes in between the tackles yesterday. Again, he had 4 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown, and then added 5 rushes for 14 yards on the ground. So it is what it is. I mean, I think we're really close to this Chasing Gold. Chasing Gold says over under on Trey starting by week 6. I think we're really close, man. I really think we're really close to this. One of the things I did a QB1 episode before the season talking about all this stuff. I talked about how because of how this quarterback situation has been managed up until this point, I was saying we went into this year with Kyle Shanahan having about this much thread left. We went into this season with Kyle Shanahan having about he's managed the quarterback position, and we've seen it. We've seen the fan base flip. The fan base is starting to really focus on Kyle Shanahan. They're really starting to focus on, all right, well, we've built you up to be this fantastic coach. Well, why aren't we necessarily seeing that? Why aren't we seeing the offense? Why are we seeing a consistently stagnant offense? Why are we seeing an offense that can't get into rhythm when that's you drafted Trey Lance, you drafted Trey Sermon, you drafted Aaron Banks, drafted all these offensive guys. Again, it's pointing. He had already he wasted a lot of his rope this offseason. Again, I'm a big Kyle guy, but he wasted just based on public perception. He wasted a lot of his rope from a public perception standpoint this offseason. And so you're seeing if it's not going as planned, if it isn't going as it should, people are looking at him at this point to be like, what is happening? Because I think we all know, again, what Jimmy is, what he's capable of, what he's not. And it just all comes back to how Kyle has managed all of this. So he's going to have to decide very soon if he can withstand Jimmy Garoppolo right now, if he can withstand his play, because I think we're starting to see a lot of people kind of put their targets right. Again, we know there is a pro Jimmy, non Jimmy side, we're not worried about that. But everyone is starting to look, both pro Jimmy and non Jimmy are just like, all right, Kyle, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And that's one of my biggest concerns about this season. So hopefully we get that squared away. Again, obviously, I want the offense to start working and doing all that good stuff, but we'll see. Let's see. What do you think our record should be for us to start worrying about our playoff hopes realistically? We're about to find out. I'm not necessarily worried about overall record. I'm worried about division record. So the 49ers have division games back to back. The Seattle Seahawks will be coming to Levi's this weekend. And that's where it starts. So if the 49ers really want to be in the playoffs, they got to take care of this division. They got to take care of this division. We got to beat a team like Seattle. We have to beat teams like the Cardinals. Like, we have to take care of this division if they really want a chance at the playoffs, because this division is so competitive right now. I really believe, like, we can sputter. Like, it sucks that we lost to Green Bay, NFC opponent. But I would much rather lose to like a Green Bay than lose to a Cards, lose to the Rams, lose to Seattle. Like, I really think the best path forward for this team is taking care of their division. And if they can take care of their division, then I think everything else falls into place at that point. So that's my biggest thing about playoff hopes. Got to take care of this division. We got to be above 500. We can't split with this division. We have to be on the upper hand of this division in regards to win percentage. Like, we can split maybe 1 or 2 series, but we got to sweep, I would say, at least 2 to like have a like confident shot at making the playoffs this year. Gmo says, man, I want to take back a lot of early picks. Would have been interesting to see if they went a couple different ways with some picks. Let's see here. True. At least either the Rams or Cards won't be undefeated after this weekend. Facts. I also want to feast on some sea chicken. I love sea chicken. So again, I really think if the 49ers can get their stuff together, the Seattle Seahawks, man, they remind me of Green Bay. They remind me of Green Bay. They have a quarterback and wide receivers that can keep them in it. And that's technically all they need. And again, if the 49ers offense isn't controlling the ball, isn't running clock, isn't being efficient, isn't taking care of the football, we can't put all the blame on the defense. The 49ers offense has to do their part. They can't turn the ball over. They have to control the football. They have to keep it out of these playmakers' hands. And if they don't do that, then they are just as worthy of blames and losses as the perceived misses on defense, in my opinion. Again, you got to play complementary football. There's 3 phases of football, and they all have to work together. And if all 3 phases aren't at least complementing each other to allow the natural back and forth, then you're at a disadvantage because it throws out the rhythm of the entire game. Yeah, this is a bit of a concern. Niners go 2-4, losing all divisional games. Shanahan is toast. If Shanahan comes out of this season with suboptimal performance, oh, the noise is going to get really loud for the first time ever. And again, I feel like he burned that he burned that rope all off season. He had probably like one of the longest leashes in the NFL, and he burned that thing to about right here. So he has to be very cognizant of that. I know you don't coach to appease outside people, you really don't, but you also have to be cognizant of energy and perception and things like that. And right now it's trending in the wrong direction. And it kind of has been for a while. So we just want to see it trend back in the right direction. So we'll see. I agree. I would love to sweep the Cards and the Seahawks. Rams look like they're on point. Don't you put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby. We need better secondary. My thing is, if we went all in on Lance, play him, trade Jimmy for a quarterback. I mean, I think they've been trying to trade Jimmy. I think it's just there's a problem of being able to trade him for what they perceive they should be able to get in return. I think that's been the biggest thing with Jimmy, why Jimmy's still here and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, you can work around a bad secondary. You can work around a bad secondary with a good offense. You can play complementary football, okay? Well, first of all, we don't want Russell Wilson to have the ball. We don't want him throwing it to DK Metcalf. We don't want take ownership of the football on the offensive side by chewing clock and scoring and taking advantage of opportunities, not turning the ball over to the defense, to the opposing offense, and again putting your defense at a disadvantage, which is what we were doing last night. So we have to remember you have to play complementary football. We can win with these cornerbacks, in my opinion. Now, is it going to be easier to win with these cornerbacks? No, it absolutely is not going to be easier to win. But the offense has to do their job for 60 minutes, not one half, 60 minutes. Not one half against Detroit, not one half against Philly, not one half against Green Bay, 60 minutes. That's why I'm putting this on Kyle and the offense. Kyle's the head coach. He's the offensive coordinator. He's responsible for the rhythm of the offense. This loss, on my opinion, is on Kyle and their inability to get this offense working in the way it needed to work. That's honestly how I feel. Let's see. I mean, yeah, the wide receiver against our cornerbacks isn't great, but if you know how to play proper zone coverage, you know how to cover your area and your zone, everyone's playing in position, you can work through that. You can also work through that with a stout defensive pass rush. You have defensive linemen being able to create problems for quarterbacks. That also helps your defensive backs. Again, Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward have been playing good football. So it's not like our entire secondary is bad. We can work around having quote unquote like lower level cornerbacks, in my opinion. We can really work around that. We really can. But that takes, again, playing complementary football. We have to play complementary football. And if that doesn't occur, then it's going to be hard to accomplish a lot of the things that we want to accomplish. Let's see. So I've seen the conversation surrounding Dantzler. That I think Dantzler is a bit unhappy with his situation, which I understand. And he's been tweeting about it and doing all kinds of stuff. So yeah, there might be an opportunity where Dantzler becomes available. And if he does at this point, hell, why not? What's it going to take for, again, to get a guy like Dantzler who's was inactive week 1, had a decent week 2, didn't really play that much, I think, in week 3. hell, CJ Henderson get moved for what he got moved for, you could probably get Dantzler for a 6th-round pick. And at this point, if you really think that this team has a shot to go far into the playoffs, then you need to get some reinforcements now. Is that Dantzler? Do they have faith in Dantzler? Like, is there a bigger question of why Dantzler can't get on the field with the Vikings? I don't know. But I mean, at this rate, like this needed to be happening in training camp. Like this needed to happen in training camp. We needed these things to occur in training camp. Again, we drafted 2 guys, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore. I still think Diamador Lenore has been pretty damn serviceable for his context of being a 5th-round pick and being a rookie. He almost, he was like that close, man. He was so close from breaking up that one beautiful pass from what's his name? Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams in the corner of the end zone. He was so damn close. If he was one step in the opposite direction, he would have made that play. Again, just it's a game of inches, right? It's a game of inches. So yeah, I think there needs to be something. I don't know if Richard Sherman now enters the conversation. I know from at least last that I spoke to a source, and I'm not going to divulge the source, but Sherman and John had spoke. But what Sherman had got, at least that was last week, was that they were okay. 49ers felt comfortable with what they had, and they were going to move forward. Josh Norman now apparently is internally bleeding in his chest. He's questionable for this week against Seattle. So I know teams are calling on Sherm. I know teams are calling on Sherm right now. Like I said, last I heard from a like can't get any more rock solid than this source is that John Lynch is called and they've spoken, but at this point, at least as of last week, they were not interested in Sherman's services. So, are they interested now? I don't know. I don't know. But at this point, I feel like it would be a bit beneficial to again have someone who's familiar with the scheme, familiar with the personnel. You have a ton of young cornerbacks. Why not? Why not bring him in? Give him a shot. Coach up these young guys. Again, he's a coach on the field. He wants to be a part of this team, but it's got to be reciprocated. So we'll see. Again, K'Waun Williams could be down. We don't know what is going on. All that kind of stuff. We don't know. We don't know what's going on with K'Waun Williams. That could be a bigger story. Because if that's the case, you're sticking Diamador Lenore in the slot. You're putting Diamador Lenore in the slot if K'Waun Williams can't go. So definitely something that needs to be evaluated. Checking really quick for any for a second. Just And the Wi-Fi goes to short-term IR. God, dude, just kick me from the stream. What is happening, man? All right. I know what I'm doing after this, but which is Wi-Fi related. But anyways, what I was trying from IR this week, if he's ready to go, and if that is the case, I'm very excited about that because I really, really think that Maurice Hurst will provide a spark on that defensive line front. Um, down a little bit, they do. I think Javon Kinlaw had a pretty decent game. For the most part, again, what I'm expecting of him, eating up double team blocks, holding the line of scrimmage, holding his ability at the line of scrimmage, and just holding his gap responsibility. I felt like he did okay for the most part. Um, there are instances where this line is getting washed. Yeah, they got washed on the what was it? Aaron Jones touchdown to the left. Bosa, unfortunately, I think needs to become really aware of what's happening on the right side of him. He is not at all have any sense of awareness on any chip defenders. He's getting rocked continuously by chip defenders. And I think there's got to be a certain point where we're like, all right, Nick, like turn your head just quickly to the right to see if you have a guy within earshot. We can't keep getting blocked and crushed by wide receivers. Like it just can't. I think that there needs to be a level of awareness for Nick Bosa in that regard. Again, he's playing edge. He's got to hold the edge. So you have to be able to see what's going on outside of you. And it's 3 weeks in a row that Nick Bosa has been depleted by a wide receiver. So got to stop that trend. Got to stop. We got to keep playing our responsibilities, doing all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, lots of stuff going on with this team, right? Um, come on, even to be like, Nick, check the outside, check the outside, look to your right. You got a wide receiver right over you. Like, watch out. Just always a look, like an acknowledgement that you could be cracked. You could be cracked. I think that would help a little bit. I think it would. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Um, this is one of the crazy things, though, man. You draft Ambry Thomas in the third round. Obviously, they threw out Diamador Lenore and have thrown out Diamador Lenore a ton. But where's Ambry? Like, again, you bring on a lot of questions when you're drafting a guy in the third round at a position that you're extremely decimated at, and this guy still can't see the field. He still can't get on the field, other than punt return or kick return at this time, which it's seeming like he lost that job at this point. But yeah, man, like there's definitely some questions around this roster. So let's try to wrap up. Let's try to wrap up the episode, right? I think a lot of what we ended up focusing on, there's again so many different things to take away from this game. There was. We can look at both sides of the football. We can look at the defensive side. We can look at some of the issues with stopping the run. We could look at some of the issues of stopping the pass, the way we were running coverage, how there just seemingly weren't the correct adjustments or the adjustments that we wanted to see. For example, some of you guys have talked about, oh, why didn't we just double Devonte Adams and make them beat us with other people? Um, why aren't we rolling coverage towards Devonte? Things like that. I think those are all reasonable questions. I think if we go back and we look at some of the touchdowns that were given up, there's definitely some techniques and playing out of positions that contributed to that. But at the end of the day, right, what happened? The 49ers were able to score 7 seconds to go up in a game that they were down 17-0. They were down 17-0, basically right before halftime. Thankfully, get the Trenton Cannon spark on the kickoff return. They were able to just barely get the ball into scoring position. Again, it just feels off. It just feels off. And then Trey comes in, scores the touchdown. Without that touchdown, I feel like we were dead in the water in that game. And then from that point on, the 49ers offense was able to start stringing things together, was able to start to move the ball. But although with the rhythm that was coming from the offense, we saw them turn over the ball, which kind of again put the defense at a disadvantage. So I think the defense played more than they should have. And again, that a lot of that goes to the back and forth, because if you look at the stats, the defense was able to hold the Green Bay Packers to only 5 of 11 third downs being converted. 5 out of 11, I'll take that all day. I will take 5 third down conversions out of 11 from our defense. Fourth down as well. They so honestly, it comes down to situation. You have a generational quarterback. You have a guy that is insane, right? He's insane. You can't split time of possession with him. So if you look at the time of possession, Green Bay Packers had the ball for 30 minutes and 8 seconds. Time of possession for the 49ers, 29 minutes and 52 seconds. It was almost dead even. And just that little bit of a split, it's funny how it is actually indicative of kind of what the score was and how the game came down to the end. Again, I talk about this whole thing about what I've talked about today is playing. They're able to play complementary football and maybe take an extra 5 minutes off the clock by not turning the football over the way they turned it over, by being more efficient in the first half of the game. We're not talking about the defense giving it up with the last 37 seconds of the game. We're not talking about those things because the game flow is completely different. And that's why I put a lot of emphasis on Kyle and Jimmy to ensure that these guys have been doing it for years now. I think that's part of the problem that we're looking at is these guys have been doing this for years together. And it looks like they're still starting out brand new. Like they're still not in rhythm after years. And that becomes the concern for me. Again, that is much more of a concern that the 49ers offense can't get into rhythm than the 49ers defense being down on their secondary and not calling maybe the best plays that we could potentially call. But again, our offense has to do a better job. Our offense should be the breadwinner in this relationship. You talk about breadwinner, who's bringing home the bacon. The offense should be bringing home the bacon. I think based on experience, and weapons, savvy, all of that. So a lot of people, again, I'm putting more emphasis on the offense this week on the loss. I'm putting emphasis on not inability to keep the balls, which I think is a function of the offense. It's part of playing keep away. think that is definitely part of the game plan when you're going up against a really good quarterback. Guess what? The 49ers have Russell Wilson next week. Do you know what they should be doing? Playing keep away. Keep the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands. Do not let him get into him. How you do that? You keep the ball away from him. You keep your defense on the sideline. You keep them fresh. So that's what I'm looking for. Basic. I gotta see more. I gotta see this team look like they've been there before. Again, we've seen now 3 weeks of not a full 60 minutes from this offense, and that's what I want to see. I want to see a full 60-minute game from this offense. And then we will have a better understanding of what this team is. But until we see the inconsistent play, you're going to see this lack of complementary football. And it's going to be hard to quantify at the end of the day because there's so much order of operation that goes into it. Angelic Ambition says, what do you think about the broadcast? Does this mean Kyle saw Trey and thought he wasn't good enough or ready to play, so he stuck with Jimmy? I honestly think Trey brings a completely different dynamic to the offense. I think Trey can run the offense plus more. He might not be as fluid as Jimmy of getting in and out of calls and doing and seeing the field. Maybe the same. I don't know. But from everything I saw in training camp, but he's his version of the offense, which is a lot of zone read and dedicated quarterback runs and things like that. So I don't know. I think this is a Kyle Shanahan situation. It's his offense. It's his baby. He's got to figure this out. You know how you help a secondary? You keep the ball away from the other team's offense. You don't give it to them. You don't give the ball to Russell Wilson and allow Russell Wilson to dice you up. You don't give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers, allow him to dice you up. I mean, but this is the thing. It's like if you have a veteran quarterback who is being inconsistent, is not hitting his reads, is throwing his wide receivers into trouble. Defenses are daring him. They're bringing safeties down. They're forced. They're even covering the middle of the field, and Jimmy's still throwing it to the middle of the field. Is Jimmy ready? Is Jimmy not confident in his ability? I don't know, man. I don't know at this point. Perfectly said. And I think we might end it on this one, Sean. Sean says, put it simply, we need to man up, stick our feet in the ground, look our brothers in the eye, and know we will dominate in the trenches. Bear down, take souls, and bury anyone on the opposing jersey and own them. I love it. 100%. And we got to do that in the trenches, which sets up the run game and sets up everything else. If we're not being dominant in the run game, we're not being dominant on the offensive and defensive line, then it's going to make it a lot harder for everyone else. So that's what we really have to get back to, is we have to get back to running the football, getting chunk runs by running the football to then be able to run play action, to be able to run our counter game off of our standard game, and all that good stuff. Appreciate you, young hitter, as always. Appreciate all the sourdough squad in here sticking through the terrible Wi-Fi, the absolutely terrible Wi-Fi, and all that good stuff. What's this? Appreciate that for sure. I'm going to head to Xfinity today, and I'm gonna figure out what the hell is going on and get this Wi-Fi thing squared away. Hopefully, we'll be back tomorrow with some clearer Wi-Fi and all that good stuff. And we'll go from there. Shout out the squad. Shout out everyone again sitting through the stream. I know it's not the best. Absolutely, this is it. We're gonna cry and we're gonna whine. Oh, I don't like this. We wish that was different. We wish this was different. You're right. After today, we're gonna keep breaking down the tape. Once I get the all 22, definitely gonna break down the all 22, and then have a clear understanding of the hows and the whys. And then once we know the hows and the whys of what happened yesterday, we'll translate and transition that towards Seattle and how we need to perform against Seattle and what we need to fix, what levers we need to pull, and everything that we need to do towards Seattle. And we'll get that going. Quickly, I thought Trey Sermon did okay. I don't think, again, part of it was I don't think Trey Sermon was able to get into a rhythm to really be able to show what he was capable of. He wasn't really given an opportunity just to run the rock. I don't feel like they were doing a lot of different rotations. Again, running juice, running. They had eight ball carriers, and only one of them was a running back. Would love them to see to try to get Trey Sermon in a little bit more rhythm. I thought he did okay based on the circumstance. It is what it is. And so, yeah. So it is. And there you go. Sean, yep, great reminder. Tomorrow is going to be Trenches Tuesday. I think this kind of, again, the hows and the whys. Like, why wasn't the run game really picking up? Why were they trying to execute what they were executing? Tomorrow, let's break down the O-line and D-line and understand how that affects everything else. So Trenches Tuesday comes in tomorrow and all that good stuff. So that's what we'll be looking at on Tuesday. So, yeah, that's what we'll be getting into tomorrow. Appreciate everyone sticking through the stream, sticking through the McDonald's Wi-Fi. We're going to get this thing squared away. I promise you. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do that. As always, it's a big help to the channel. We'll see you guys all tomorrow for Trenches Tuesday, and we'll really dive into that offensive line, defensive line play, and see what's going on there. Until then,